Hey guys, it's Big Sexy with Big Sexy Outdoors. If you guys are looking for your bucks to be big and sexy like me, I recommend you go out and get yourself some Big Sexy by Domain. This product is filled with radish, turnips, and kale, and other vegetation to keep the deer coming back all season long. Go out to your local Tractor Supply and purchase some today. Big Sexy by Domain. All right.
There we are.
There we are.
How is everybody today?
Good, I got something new.
What'd you get? Nice.
What brand's that?
Not too sure. I didn't look at the box yet.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
So let us introduce ourselves. I'm Ben. They call me Big Sexy. This is bottom corner here. Go ahead, and the bottom corner is
Bronson.
Kevin.
Okay.
And I'm just Chris.
And this is Chris. So tonight's special guest, as you guys can see, you guys all know Bronson, Chris, and myself is Kevin Shaud, right? I want to make sure I say it right. Shaud.
Yeah.
I just want to make
Shaud,
sure.
yeah.
I have a bad habit of pronouncing things wrong.
Not just names, like everything.
Yeah, everything. He's right, Kevin. But so Kevin is our special guest tonight. We have him on for a couple reasons. One is Kevin created a hunting game, which is what Chris and I have done. So we thought it'd be really cool to get him on here and hear about that. But Kevin also is an outdoorsman. So kind of get to talk a little bit about all of it at once. And if you don't know this, Kevin, little guy in the corner here, he's our youth member. He comes on when he can, and we always bring him on because he gives us the kid aspect of things and asks questions from a kid's perspective, which we really like.
And he gives us heck a lot of times. So.
I'm sure Chris explained to you that if you look in the bottom, you'll see now there's a gentleman that just commented. So there will be questions and comments that pop up as we go.
Okay.
I'll try not to stop us, but as they come up, I will give you a little bit of point down there just so you know to look and you can answer any questions.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So let us start. Introduce yourself, where you're from, and a little bit of your background.
So grew up I pretty much lived my whole life in Pennsylvania. Grew up in a little town called Columbia, right on the Susquehanna River in Lancaster County. And then lived there most of my life, went to school at Penn State, and then briefly moved to North Carolina for a job that didn't work out, and then moved back to Pennsylvania in Montgomery County, and actually just moved back to Lancaster County 2 months ago. So I'm in Lancaster actually now, Lancaster Township area.
Okay.
So I spent, from the time I was 7 or 8, my dad and my uncles were always big hunters. And so I wasn't hunting at that age because back then there was no like youth hunting really. But I was, shooting guns and spending a lot of time outdoors and, learning things from my dad. And then as soon as I was 12, at that time, the age to go hunting, I took my hunter safety course and, started small game hunting and deer hunting and, really did that for over 30 years. Unfortunately, my dad passed away in 2016. And that really, a big part of hunting for me was really just spending time with him. So I don't really hunt that much anymore. Still love the outdoors, but just not really much of a hunter, which is kind of one of the reasons I'm glad that I, did create my game because it lets me at least recreate the experience on the tabletop if I'm not getting out in the woods myself.
Well, I think that's great. So you took us right into your game. We didn't have to do it. One thing we learned on this is we don't even have to do half the work. You guys do it for us, which makes it so much more fun. So Chris actually has your game pulled up on a stream. And let's start with asking what gave you the idea, and of course you kind of already led into it, the idea and the theory behind the game you built?
Well, actually, this game, Whitetail Woodland Pursuit, is actually like the second game I created. I actually created a game back in 2011 called Whitetail Wilderness, and I didn't want to abandon that name because I really liked it. So I, because I can have another game in Board Game Geek's database with the same, I just kind of tacked on the Woodland Pursuit part. But really, it was actually, to be honest, one time, it probably would have been around 2009 or 10. I was, deer hunting out in the woods, and it was quiet. There wasn't much going on. And being an avid gamer, I was like, you know what? That's one thing that was really not out there is a good game about like hunting. And then I started just kind of like throwing some ideas around in my head. And I got back to the camp that night, and I was just jotting some notes down in my notebook. And over the course of like 2 years, that game sort of came together. And it turned out great. I actually published that on the Game Crafter as well. It's not visible anymore just because it really got kind of bloated with components, and the Game Crafter is great for a lot of things, but they're very expensive when you publish games on there just because, it's print on demand. So like there's no bulk discount really. So that game ended up costing like $70, I think. And obviously no one was going to pay that for some Joe Schmo designer that they never heard of before. And a few years passed, and I always wanted to kind of revisit it. It was my first design, so I had learned a lot and played a lot of games in between. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to revisit that and make it a strictly solo game. The original game, the original Whitetail Wilderness, I was building it as a solo game, and then I was having some friends like play test it for me, and they were like, "Oh, you would add in other players," and I did, but I really thought, hunting really is mostly a solo experience as far as the hunt itself. So I wanted to kind of stay true to that this time, and make it really streamline it down to sort of like the core experience and not all these other things that were kind of going on in the periphery before that I thought detracted and kind of made the game longer than it should have been. And I'm really happy with how this turned out, because you can play it in 30 minutes, and it's like there's 5 scenarios in the game. The one is like pretty much infinitely replayable because it's random setup. And I also, on the game's Board Game Geek page, I have some additional scenarios that I created that I posted on there that are free. There's a campaign mode. There's like a weather expansion. There's a bunch of other little things on there that kind of add to the game. And I plan to go back and do more of that, but there wasn't a ton of interest on Board Game Geek, so I've kind of neglected it for a few years. But at some point, I probably will try to return to it.
I did notice that. I did notice that a lot when it comes to, I'll call it the non-traditional settings.
Yeah.
That they only want fantasy, or they want something similar to that.
Right. Yeah, and I know that's a big part of it. Hunting's not. I mean, it's popular, but how many? If you look at the the Venn diagram of hunters and board gamers, it's probably pretty small. Pretty small group.
I know. I picked this up. Gosh, I don't want to log into my Game Crafter thing, but I know I picked this up a couple of years ago, and I did grab the Hunter's Skills expansion. I never got the mat for some reason. I usually buy the game mats, but I didn't get that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I lost it in a flood.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, God willing, I should have had it, but yeah. So I did have this for a short time, but I do like the art though. Did you do this?
No. I that's one thing I'm not good at is art. So like,
Me too.
I had like the original game, I had some artists do work, but it was pretty simple. But this time, I actually posted a thread on Board Game Geek in the, I forget the overall forum. It's like employment wanted or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was like I just posted a thread in there like looking for a graphic designer artist. And this woman named Jenny Eichbush reached out to me and sent me like the link to like her profile, and her work is she's done like book covers and all kinds of other art, fantasy art. If you check out her website, and her and I worked on it. And she did a wonderful job. Like it's when I got seeing it on the screen, but when I finally got it in my hands, I was like, wow, it just blew me away how great it looked, how much she captured the essence of what I was thinking. And she's not a hunter, she doesn't really understand any of that. So for her to somehow channel what I was envisioning, and do it the way she did, I was really impressed by it.
You got some really good pictures and stuff in it.
Yeah, it's hard to get firearms correct, and not only that, but I mean the snow direction and all that. Did real good.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. Chris and I were talking about ordering one in and playing it. We wanted to do it before you got on, but we just I'll be honest with you, sometimes our lives are so hectic and we can't get together to do it. So we just said we'll make a day we do it. And get on. So your game now, you're on. Correct me because I'm not huge into the game industry. Okay. I thought it was really cool that we made one and you made one, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" All by itself.
both from PA.
Yeah, both from
Yeah.
PA. I thought that was really, really cool. I didn't even know this existed. See, Chris is huge into this stuff, and Chris said, "Yo, check this out." Send it to me. I said, "Oh, that's awesome." So is this the only place you can order your game and find it?
Yes, yeah. Right
Okay.
now, yeah. I always
I
kind
didn't
of
know if you had other.
no. I always kind of hoped it would get picked up maybe by, but it's again, it has somewhat limited appeal. But I would love for it to like become like a Kickstarter. But then again, I'm a little worried like like it would end up not delivering, and then people would hate me, and I don't know if I want to deal with the fallout from that either. But it would be nice to get it into more people's hands if possible. But
Do you want to hear something funny? When we launched ours, we called ours Gone Hunting. We actually had people swear to God in heaven, this is true. They wish that the deer would trample us to death, and that we would just many ways that we should die is what they wished on us.
But they paid money on Kickstarter to do it. I said, Chris, let them keep commenting. I don't care. They're paying for it.
Yeah. Keep sending me the money. You can tell me all day.
They'd pay $1 to comment on our thing. I'd be like, comment away. You can hate us all you want. You're helping pay for it, buddy.
Yeah, I definitely understand that because at the age I'm at now, I really like. I've only ever really shot 2 deer in my entire hunting career, but and at the time I was okay with it. Now I just don't think I could do it again, just because things have changed. But I understand people's objections, but especially now with like chronic wasting disease being, it's in Pennsylvania now pretty bad. And like between that and the deer not having any natural predators, I mean, hunters are like so super important to like keeping the population in check so that, because, the higher the population is, the worse that CWD is going to spread because they're in closer and closer proximity to each other, which is bad, eating off the same stuff and, the saliva mixes, and that's where they're getting it from. But I understand people like that didn't grow up with that and didn't see that and don't understand that side of it. It's one of those things like people used to ask me like, how could you shoot them? Like, I'm like, I love deer too. They're beautiful. It's just a different sort of kind of one of the scenes from a movie that really kind of hit home for me was if you saw the first Avatar movie when she like takes him out and he like hunts that creature or whatever it is and he kills it, and then he goes over and like connects with it and like basically like thanks the creature for like giving them life or whatever. I was like, that's kind of, I mean, that was a little bit more maybe over the top, but like that's kind of the feeling you get when you harvest a deer. Like it's like you go over and you're thankful, and like it's not like at least for me it was never like it's dead, it was never that kind of a thing. It was more of just like communing with the outdoors and feeling like you were part of the food chain, I guess, in a way.
More of a spiritual, right? I mean, am I using the right words? I always feel it's more of a spiritual experience for me.
Right. Yeah.
When you look back at the old Native Americans, and what they do, they thank the animal every time they take one. I'm the same way. I'm like, thank you, God, thank you for allowing us to harvest you and use your meat towards things in our family. And that's how I feel. I feel it's very spiritual. So am I hitting that right for you?
Yeah, I think and in some ways definitely, and anymore too. Like, there's a lot of places where like if you hunt and like don't eat the meat, you can donate the meat to like homeless shelters or like soup kitchens. So like nothing really goes to waste, and I think you're doing an important service to the deer because as they become more and more populated, obviously the health of the whole population declines, and there's just a lot of and like they're so adaptable that like they live in every little like patch of wood. So, and like obviously people can't hunt them, and there's no natural predators, at least not in Pennsylvania. So they just tend to like their population just explodes over time, and they become a nuisance to homeowners, and with deer ticks, and you can get them on your dog and on you, and it's like there's a lot of potential health hazards too. So not everyone understands all the facets of deer hunting and hunting in general. So I understand that. And I always try to keep that in mind, like when people and not that I got many comments like that, but there was a couple of comments on my original game about killing woodland creatures or something. I'm like, first of all, it's a game. I'm not actually killing anything.
You're right.
Well, so the one thing I always say with our game is this is your way to hunt without ever taking an animal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I always use it.
Right.
I always use it as this is a way to hunt. You kind of get to experience it, be part of it, take it in, but you never really kill an animal. So you get to have a whole lot of fun with and still not do the one thing you don't want to do.
Right. And it's not like, at least in my game, it's not like there's pictures of deer laying there with like, being gutted or shot, or it's very like G-rated as far. So it's not, it shouldn't offend anybody's sensibilities. Like, I could understand if there was like, language or something that was like more related to killing. I tried to keep it pretty like low key just because it's not really what the game. I mean, it is about that, but it's more about like the process of the hunt, getting that shot, getting the chance to shoot.
Absolutely. Which makes, I think that makes absolute perfect sense. What I like here is that you took a personal experience and you turned it into you tried to bring your own personal experience alive to a game. And I think that's cool. So you made it a single player, so it was your experience. So when each player plays, they're feeling what your own experience through it. I like that. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Really good thought process, in my opinion. I really think that's neat.
And I really wanted to keep the game like as realistic as possible, like around without it being too realistic where, okay, I'm playing, I sat out there all day, didn't see anything. Oh, well, like, not that realistic, but like, so you're probably going to see more deer in the game than unless you're hunting somewhere where there's tons of deer. But I wanted it to be fun, but also like, the frustration of sometimes like the deer winding you and taking off. And like, I was trying to balance like playability with realism and making it fun and challenging at the same time. And I mean, everybody has their own opinion, of course, but I was really happy with how it turned out. And like, obviously, in the process of designing it and going through it, I played it 50, 60, 70 times and I never got tired of it. So I thought that was a good sign.
That's funny. That's us, Chris. That sounds like us to the T.
That's
Anytime we take our board game to be demoed, they say, "Hey, you guys sit down here and play with us." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll play. I love the game."
Yeah.
I like how it said like once they're spotted, then you use your cards and the dice, of course, to stay hidden from them. Like you said, you don't want to hear the snort, the wheeze that you've been caught.
Right. Yeah. There one thing that I sort of debated on, and I had somebody like comment or email me about it or something, was like, the way you set up, and really it's your choice as the player, but the way you set up like the deer pool, which is the deck of the deer cards, that it's totally random. So like you could be playing the game for 5 minutes and like this huge buck could walk out and you could shoot it and the game could be over. Or you might go the entire game and not really see a big buck. And I had somebody comment and say, well, it's kind of, it's kind of anticlimactic because I shot a big deer in the first 5 minutes. I'm like, but that's how hunting is. I've heard tons of stories where a guy walks out in the woods, he's 50 yards from camp, sees a deer, shoots it, he's done before it's barely light out. And then there's guys that are out there all day and barely see anything. I mean, that's sort of the nature of hunting. So I wanted to stay true to that. But like I said, you can set up the deck any way you want. If you want to put the larger deer in the bottom half, I mean, feel free to do that. Yep. To me, that's not realistic because then in the first half of the game, you're not going to see any big deer, which is not really how it is when you're in the woods. It's
right.
Just
That makes sense.
Yeah. Or he could be like Ben, shoot one, and then say it was for his daughter. Like he was shooting his daughter's, deer because it wasn't going to go for him. And then he sees a 10 that came walking behind that one?
I had a 7-point walking to my daughter, and I wasn't going to shoot it. It was walking up to her. So I was walking this way, and then it turned to come this way at me, and I knew it was never going to make it to my daughter, so I ended up shooting it. Right? I shot it, and it was a 10-point, 60 yards behind it, like this, running through the woods behind it. I was like, I wanted to cry, but what are you going to do? Listen, they taste the same. It didn't matter.
Can't eat the horns.
So you brought up, and Chris told me there's I don't want to put you in a situation anywhere, but you brought up, your experiences with your family. So I'm going to ask you something weird here, kind of off this board game topic. What's your favorite experience with your family? What was your favorite thing to experience in this whole thing?
With hunting, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because something intrigued you in this, something put you here. I mean, there's something in that whole experience that had to make this you pop and say, I got to share this. What was that?
I think overall, like, there's definitely one experience that I'll mention, but overall, it was always like because when I was younger, like the only hunting we really did was like small game. Because my grandfather used to live on a farm that he rented and farmed part of. So we would small game hunt there. Like I would go with my dad and two of my uncles and sometimes some other people. Um, but like the only other hunting we really did then, like once in a while we'd go like fall turkey, but it was mostly like small game and then rifle deer hunting. That was like all my dad really ever did. So like to me, it was always like the anticipation of like, okay, Thanksgiving's coming. You know what that means? Like buck season, and we're gonna like go up to the deer camp for 3 days. And it was really the whole experience of like that anticipation and like packing my stuff and then like going to the camp and like all my uncles were there and like, a couple other like guys that were in my dad and uncle's camp and just year after year, that ritual and like growing up from the age of 12 until well into my 30s, before like I ended up getting my own cabin for a while. It was just every year, the stories and like, we'd go out deer spotting the night before, just all those things. Just it always like was something that I looked so forward to every year. Like again, mostly a lot of it was, especially as I got older, it was less about the hunting and more about just time with my dad. 'Cause it was just him and I, especially once I got my cabin, it would be just me and him up there. So I have a lot of great memories, even in my later years. But the one hunting experience I would say that is the most memorable, as soon as you said that, it came right to mind, was the second deer I got. And this is back before like antler restrictions and everything. It wasn't a big deer, but my dad and I had come in for lunch. And my dad at this point was in his probably like mid 60s. So, he was getting up there a little bit. And we ate lunch and we were like, came back out after lunch and, you're full and we were walking uphill, up the mountain. And he's like, hey, can we just stop? My legs are getting tired. Can we stop and rest for a minute? I'm like, yeah, sure. So we sit down. We're like literally sitting for like just a rest. And we're sitting on this fallen tree and we're talking, like whispering, like, and all of a sudden I hear a noise. I look and there's a deer, probably 50 yards away, and it's a buck. And so my dad's sitting right next to me, and like I put the rifle up and shot it. Right, like my dad's sitting next to me, and like it was just that as an experience, like the only time that ever happened, and it was just really just chance, and it was like I'll never forget that. It gives me chills now, even just talking about it, because he was right there, and he's like, good shot, and like we went over, and it was just having that experience with my dad is like something I'll never forget. And one of the things that definitely kind of got poured into this game as I like kind of recounted, my experiences and the things I enjoyed while hunting.
I think too many people get caught up, in my opinion, and they forget that not only is it's not, a lot of guys, some guys go out and it's about this 10 point, 12 point. Right. They want the big one.
Yeah.
But then there's all these guys who forget. I've been hunting with my dad since I'm 12 years old. Now my dad's still around. I love every moment we spend together in the woods, whether we get something or not.
Right.
And I think too many people get caught up in that. And they forget that what really matters in this, which is the tradition, the bond.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that comes from hunting. I always say a deer hunter loves deer more than an animal activist.
Mm-hmm.
I could watch deer for hours. Yeah. I absolutely love to see them.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know there's a time when it's time to take them. And again, I'm a single dad with 3 kids. We eat them. That's it saves me a ton of money at the store when I put a deer in the freezer.
Right.
So I would say dedicate my life to hunting, but I try to do as much of it as I can. And it ain't the hunting, it's go out. So my dad shared it with me. I shared it with my daughter, who's 17 now, who's killed some deer, and she absolutely just loves going out with me. I'm hoping to share it with my son this year a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. I mean, anybody that says it's not about time with their dad or their kid to me they're just hunting for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he taught me so much about, like respect for wildlife and respect for the environment and like all those things kind of in the process of like teaching me about hunting and just, all these different things, when we'd be up there, especially when I was really young and just learning and kind of going out there for the first time. I remember like my first couple of years, like it was freezing and like I didn't really have like good clothes yet. So like I still remember this. I was like 12 and I took it like an old pair of my jeans and my dad put something. It was like some kind of like, was it liniment or it was something he put on to make them like cold resistant or something. So I'm out there in these jeans with like this like thick like liniment stuff on them, and I'm sitting there freezing at like the first day. he was, I could tell he was not worried about me, but he kept saying, "Are you cold? Are you cold? Try moving your hand. Try, doing that." Like he was trying to teach me all the like little secrets to try to stay warm. And obviously we'd get up and walk. We wouldn't stay in the same spot all day. So like when you walk, you get usually warm up a little. But it's just funny how I still remember like back in those early days when I think part of it, he wasn't, he didn't know for sure if I would stick with it, and he didn't want to invest, a lot of money into it. And at the time, like, I guess my parents then were a little better off, but, we were never like poor, but, I had 2 older sisters. So like, a family of 5, and my dad, for the most part, my mom did work at some points, but, we were definitely sort of like blue collar, middle class, and didn't have tons of money to spend on, $1,000 of hunting clothes for me to wear one season,
I still don't spend that. I just want you to know I still don't spend that. I'll freeze before I spend $1,000 on hunting clothes. I am cheap. I am so cheap having 3 kids. I'm telling Chris laughs at me. If I get cold, I'll go for a walk. I'm cheap.
Yeah. Are you based in Pennsylvania also?
Yeah, so I live in Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Chris is in Pine Grove, Pennsylvania. Bronson's a youth. I won't give away his.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
But he's not far from us.
Where is Mount Carmel? What county is that in?
So do you know where Knoble's Amusement Resort is?
Oh, yeah.
I'm close to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm close to that. I actually, Lancaster, I used to build bridges in.
Oh,
I built some bridges out there. I used to work with a bunch of guys from Lancaster.
Okay. Yeah, because actually, no, it's kind of off topic, but I have some hunting clothes that I wanted to donate, and I was just going to donate them to like Goodwill, but I'm like, and somebody obviously would use them, but I'm like, man, I would really love to give them to someone who hunts, like that really would use them to hunt. So if you or anybody is interested, let me know, because I have 2 nice hunting coats that I doubt I'll ever use at this point, and a bunch of other stuff.
Put them up in our group. In our Big Sexy Outdoors, we have a group and a page. If you put them up in a group, that's open to public for anybody.
Okay.
Put them up, looking to donate to a hunter. I guarantee you someone will, someone in there can use them, and if you stress in there that you just want to see them go to somebody maybe a little less fortunate, I guarantee you that somebody will help that too. We have a pretty good group of guys between our page and our group, and we can help share it once you post it and put it in.
And I'm not looking to sell them or anything. I mean, because I use them and they're in good shape. I mean, and it would be a shame just for them to. And I moved from a house into an apartment, so space is definitely a premium. So anything I don't really need, I'm trying to like downsize. So.
Oh, I understand that one. Trust me, I went from a big house to this little shoebox. I call it my shoebox. It's a half a double apartment, so I got it. I have stuff crammed in this place. I should stop getting stuff though, and then I won't have to keep cramming stuff. That's kind of the problem. I'm a discount person, so if I find hunting and fishing stuff that I'm going to use at some point on discount, I'm like, ooh, I'll get that for later.
Right.
And then later is 10 years from now, and I'm not smart enough to know I need to wait.
Yeah.
Bronson, before we keep rambling, do you have anything you want to ask him?
Yeah.
You're watching his game. You see what's going on. You have any questions?
One thing is, how long did it take you to make your game?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think. The original game, like the very first Whitetail Wilderness, it probably took me, I want to say like 5 or 6 months to really like start from ground zero and build it up. And like that, so I already had like kind of the core ideas when I did Woodland Pursuit, and I would say that came together pretty quick. I would say maybe like 2 to 3 months. Yeah, probably that. And that included like some play testing, and there was a guy from the One Player Guild that did a bunch of play testing for me. His name is Brian. He's not really around too much on Board Game Geek anymore, but super helpful because he realized some things that it's like it's hard. I'm usually pretty good at like dissociating myself and being able to see the outside perspective, but there were some things he brought up and I was like, wow, like it definitely improved the game a ton. So yeah, good question. Yeah, so about 6 months I would say for the original game, probably 2 to 3 for Woodland Pursuit.
That's all I have then.
Well, I didn't want to keep going here, and you had something. I know sometimes you have some really good questions, and we love that it comes from a youth angle versus an adult angle. So, just let us know, and we'll let you in here at any time.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fact that you guys are learning and our youth learn means more to me than me learning or asking any day of the week. We take these guys on in hopes that one day these guys take it over.
Right.
These youth guys keep it going for us. So that's the goal. But so you do any fishing?
I used to. My dad and I used to fish way back, like when I was a kid. And it was mostly like my at one point my sister had a horse, and like where she kept her horse there was this like creek, and we would go and it was just just throw it in, maybe catch some stuff. We were never like serious fishermen, but like I kind of got out of it then, and I planned to get back into it when I was a little older, and I bought a fishing rod, just cheap, like at BJ's, got like a fishing rod, and it was still in the package when I got rid of it. I never even opened it. So now I love being like around water, even on the water. And I've thought about it a lot of times, getting into fishing, but I guess it's one of those things like it kind of feels intimidating once especially now every sport has taken on like life of its own. There's like so much equipment and so much this and so much that. And like when you're a noob, and you don't know what you're doing, it's kind of intimidating sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot of women that are getting into it, and they say that, the sport, people try to push them out. They don't want them involved. I think that's terrible. So,
oh, yeah.
So intimidation is definitely there. Most women we talk to honestly say the same thing, that they're very intimidated. Like now, in their sense, it's more the guys don't want them there.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they're learning on top of it all, and then kind of trying to get pushed out. That's so I can see that by anybody, the intimidation in trying. So what's your absolute favorite? I got to ask this. So fishing and hunting, you're kind of out, but I know you love the outdoors here by talking to you. So you're not fishing, hunting. What are you doing in the outdoors? Are you a hiker? Are you what are you what are you doing now that you're out of it?
Actually, not a whole lot. We've been like I had moved just recently and just moved back to Lancaster. Definitely want to do some hiking. Nothing real serious. Probably pretty easy hikes just to start out. And I really do miss like I've often thought about like going out like during hunting season, like when Sundays, like when there's no Sunday hunting, just to be out, or even maybe get a hunting license and go without the intention to really hunt anything, just basically walk the gun around.
A lot of guys that do that.
Yeah, I just haven't done that yet, and actually like for a while, like toward the end, I had taken up archery hunting. And I never even got a shot at a deer. I did see some nice deer like during the rut and everything, but I really enjoyed like shooting the bow. Now during one of my moves, I ended up like selling it because we didn't have a cabin anymore. And it was I didn't know how much I would really get to use it, but I've kind of thought about, once I get settled in, maybe getting a crossbow and kind of getting back into it. Cause my girlfriend's daughter she started taking like archery, at, Lancaster Archery Supply. They have like classes for kids.
They're good guys.
She's been doing that for like the last 2 months and she loves it. So that's kind of got the itch again of like, man, I should get a crossbow or another compound bow and just shoot. Like I just loved shooting it. It was just fun.
You ever think of like Ben, help me out here. What am I thinking of? 3D.
The 3D
what are they
shoot.
The 3D shoots. Thank you. I personally like doing those. I don't know if you ever had a chance to get out.
No, are you shooting at like actual 3D like targets, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I'm not talking about the 3D targets outside. I'm talking about the one that was in the.
Oh, you're talking techno hunt.
That's what it is.
It's virtual hunting, but you use your real bow.
Okay. I've heard of that. I wanted to look into that. The guy I used to work with was big into that. It always sounded really cool.
Yeah.
If you get back into it and you ever get the opportunity, I recommend just trying it at least once. It is something you have to experience.
Do you actually shoot the arrow from?
Yes. So what they do is they give you a blunt, what I call a blunt tip. Okay, trying to where they can see me. So it's about that round. Okay, but it's kind of curved back so your arrow still, doesn't change its flight.
Yeah.
And it's a movie screen, and the animal will walk across the screen through the woods like it's dark in there. You can't see, but your sight and the screen, and then the animal will stop, and it only gives you a vital shot for a few seconds.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Oh, it is. It's. I mean, it's like realistic. It's awesome. It is fun. If you, it would be something to try. Even though she's just into, she, of course, she's just target shooting.
Right.
But I'm telling you, it would be. I think she would think that's neat. Most kids think that is cool. My kids used to go with. My one daughter hates hunting. She hates it. She doesn't want it. She don't care if we get a deer, and that's fine. I don't judge what she. Everybody's different.
Right.
But she used to go with and just sit in a chair to watch because she thought it was the neatest thing in the world.
Yeah. It does sound really cool. Like I said, a friend of mine from work was into it. I even liked back when I was archery hunting, I had my bow. I belonged to like a sportsman's club that had like a platform built, like it was like a tree house. Like, so you were in a tree stand, but you weren't in a stand. It was just like a, whole build up, like a tree house almost. And then they had all kinds of like actual targets, like different distance. They had deer, they had turkeys. I'm trying to think, there was a couple other ones, but they had deer at different like distances. You could practice as if you're like shooting out of a tree stand. And it was fun just to go up there and just like, take shots. I mean, some of the deer were pretty far away, so it was like, oh well, why not try it? It's not like it's real. And I just found I always thought that was pretty cool too. But yeah, the Techno thing definitely sounds like it would be worth. If I ever get back into it, I definitely want to look into it.
Like I said, it'd be cool just take her and watch her because I'm telling you, it is cool. I mean, just to give her something, it would be something new for her. I said that to Chris before. His daughter shoots for the school too.
Yeah.
And I said when she gets to a point where you think she's hitting pretty good, I said you gotta take her to try something like that. Oh my God, I'd love to get back into it. Honestly, that's something I'm gonna get back into once my kids are starting to be able to drive on their own and do their. I have one daughter, but once they start leaving the nest a little more, I do plan on getting back into it. They have leagues and stuff. I would love to join a league.
Yeah. Well, Ben's like my crack dealer. See, he got me hooked on the Techno shoot. He got me hooked on fly fishing. I'm telling you, I don't know what I'm going to do with this guy. I mean, I'm a guy that hates fishing, and he got me hooked on fly fishing of all things.
Oh wow!
It's I don't know. I don't teach you to be the best fly fisherman or the best techno hunter. I teach you to have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's the hook in it. I'm not one of them guys. You ask Little Bronson up here, I rabbit hunt with him and his pap all the time, and his dad as well. And they'll tell you that, I'm a fun, ain't Bronson. I don't care. If I miss 3 shots, I'm laughing. It don't matter to me. And it is what it is. We're shooting and having fun. I'll start barking like a dog going through a hollow if we get bored. I don't know. I see life differently. Like I said, that's just being there is spiritual to me.
Yeah.
It's peace. It gives me a peace. I always say it's my happy place.
That was one thing I really liked about archery hunting was being in the woods that time of year, like when the leaves are changing and during the rut, like you see deer like so much more active, like the buck are just like crazy. It's like so different than like hunting during rifle season. It was just cool to see them like. And they're like they're still so muscular because like they haven't shed all that weight yet, and it was neat. I saw 2 really nice bucks. The one year they were too far, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I was just setting up like where I had stands on my property already. Like I certainly wasn't one of those people that put a lot of effort into like patterning and all that kind of stuff. I just, like you said, I was mostly just doing it to get out there and try it out. And it was just, it's a great time of year. Like when the leaves start changing, it starts to cool off and you're sitting there and like, the sun comes up and it's a nice cool day and the red and gold leaves and the sun's coming through. It is definitely spiritual in a lot of ways. You just feel like kind of that one with nature.
I always say, if you want to keep a kid off drugs, teach them to hunt, because there's just things that you experience that, many times I've had deer in range and haven't killed them. Many times. Yeah. I could thousands. And now you as a hunter, Chris Bronson, everybody as a hunter. Tell me if I'm wrong to this, but when I'm sitting at a tree and I'm looking forward and I hear this, and it's to the right or to the left and you can't quite see it, it's like, and you're like, oh man, what is it? The best is, and then you're like, frickin' squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel. 99% of the time.
But in the rut, when that happens, it's normally a buck,
Yeah.
and he comes running in, and his neck's about this big, and
Yeah.
it's usually cold in the morning, so you can see the steam blowing out his nostrils, from chasing. Oh my God, it's just awesome to watch. It's just awesome to watch. It's just an experience. So anybody that hasn't hunted, I always recommend trying it. Just try it. If you hate it, it's okay, but at least try it. Just put an effort into going. I always say the guys who don't want to hunt can tag along with us. They can film. I'll put them behind the camera. I'm okay with that as long as they're okay with it.
Yeah.
We I don't know. We really take our hunting pretty serious. Like, we have trail cameras. My trail cameras are going off right now. They're banging the tar out of my phone right now. I can hear them popping.
But not too seriously. I always like to have fun when we're doing it.
Oh, yeah. When I say serious, I just mean serious in the sense of going out there and being part of it. Once we're there, we're not too serious. So sometimes that's not good.
Bronson, yes, you can shoot the ones you use for archery for the school, for the techno hunt. They just put on those, like Ben said, the blunt tips.
All right.
Yeah. I don't think you can use a crossbow for it, but I know you can use any compound. Don't quote me on it, though, because they could have changed it, and I didn't own a crossbow back then because I was broke.
And now he owns a crossbow, and he's still broke.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's right behind. That's why I keep it behind me.
That's part of hunting. You're broke no matter what. Even if when you have money, you're broke. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
But so on our viewers, I think we went over a lot. Tell us something about the game. Tell us something that will intrigue somebody out there. Now, you intrigue me, so I want you to know you intrigued me by you took your own personal experience and you put it into the board game so everybody else can experience it. That intrigued me. I thought that was great. If you eliminated that, tell our viewers something else that would super intrigue them besides this cool artwork.
One of the things that I really liked how it turned out is like the deck, your deck of cards acts as, I won't say a timer, but like that's the game. So like you can burn through your deck by like playing a bunch of cards, but then once your deck runs out, like once you draw your last card, you get one last play and that's it. So you really have to be smart about like when you play your cards, like when you redraw your hand, because you can discard to draw back up to your hand size. Like, and there's things that let you increase your hand size, which is good, but then obviously that's going to make the game go faster. And the original, like the game as originally designed is just a standard, like you have, I forget what the deck is, 36 cards or whatever it is. But then I decided there were some extra cards just because of the way the game crafter is, like, you have so many decks. So I had extra cards. So I created some and I, basically made them for like future variants. And the one thing I decided to do was make like a deck construction variant where instead of using the standard starting deck, you can decide like you have so many like points to spend on your deck and then you build your deck how you want. So like, you can have a bunch of really powerful cards, but you're gonna have a smaller deck and the game's going to go faster, or you can, spread it out. And then the expansion adds some new card types, which I like really thought were pretty cool. Some ideas I came up with sort of after like it was too late for the original game, and also add some basically more powerful versions of some of the existing cards. And they're obviously they cost a bit more to add to your deck. And also like in the deck construction variant, which is basically it's just a file download on Board Game Geek, so it's free. It lets you say like, or it tells you that like your standard deck is like comes out to be like 120 points or whatever it is, I forget. Mm-hmm. But you can choose to like, if you again, it's your game. If you want to make like, well, I don't want to do that, I want to make the game longer, I'm going to build a 150 point deck. Like that's going to let you play longer. Obviously, you're going to see more deer, and it might make it slightly easier, but that's your choice. So it gives you a lot of flexibility as a gamer. Like you can really kind of customize your experience to be longer, shorter, less challenging, more challenging. Like there's some scouting cards that you like basically look at what's on the tile before you move there, and like how good of an area it is. It's supposed to represent like scouting in the off season kind of thing. Yep. So that was one of the things as more of like from a gaming perspective that I really liked. It kind of popped in my head like, oh, I'll just use it instead of, because the original game you played like rounds. And I was like, I really wanted to I really like games where you don't have to remember to move the round marker. And it just kind of organically, like Ryan, or not, who's the guy that designed Feast for Odin? He's big on those. Like his games never have like round markers. Like as you pick up your workers, that when the game's over. Like I like things that are organic like that. So when I had that idea to like just use your deck as basically the timer, I'm like, oh, I like that because it's kind of like something he would do. I can't think of his name. Is it
Uwe Bold or no, not no. What? Oh my God, what is his name? Rosenberg.
Rosenberg, yes, thank you, Uwe Rosenberg. Like I always like that because it's like I'm notorious for like if I'm playing a game where, especially a solo game where it's like rounds, I get so into what I'm doing. I'm like, wait, did I go with the round marker? And then I'm not sure, like terraforming Mars or something, and it's like, oh wait, I think I played 3 extra rounds. No wonder I won. So yeah, I really just I tried to build as much flexibility into, because the game, unfortunately, like I said, the Game Crafter is great for like self-publishing, but it's not cheap. I mean, I make very little profit on the game. It's just, that was about as cheap as I could make it, because they won't let you obviously cut in to their, because the Game Crafter takes a cut of it. So like, at $45, I know it's like still expensive for kind of what it is. I mean, I feel like it's worth it. I mean, but I understand that, I'm not Uwe Rosenberg, so like people aren't going to throw down $50 for a game too quick. I'm the same way when I'm on the Game Crafter. Like some of the stuff looks interesting, but I'm like, man, $50. What if the game's terrible? Like, I don't know if anyone's going to want it. And but I tried to. That's why I tried to add on some things like on Board Game Geek for free. And like I said, if there's more interest in the future, I would kind of continue to do that. I've been sort of on a little bit of a hiatus from gaming too, of moving and just sort of taking a break. So.
Definitely. Like I'm reading your cards as Chris keeps flipping through, and you're telling us about them. I definitely think it's a lot of fun. Chris, we're definitely got the game. We're gonna have to. You know what would be cool? So here's a cool one. I'm gonna throw this out there to you guys. We should swap games.
Oh yeah.
We should send you ours, and you send us a copy of yours, and we can tell each other what we think.
All right. Yeah,
what do you think? I think that would be cool. I just kind of came up with that as we were going here, but wouldn't that be cool? I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I would like that.
And you could kind of give us your perspective, because yours is a solo game, this one, and ours is a family 1 to 4. So you could really give us your perspective in it,
right?
And I think it would be cool, especially being that we both designed different eras. Oh yeah, there's ours. Chris has ours there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure. Yeah, give me your address. Well, I have your email. Send me your address, and I'll pop one of these in the mail for you. Okay. I have to take like 20 of these to the mail tomorrow, so I'll put one in the mail for you tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that would be cool. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm into that. Yeah, I'll get your shipping address, and I'll just place the order from the Game Crafter. That's the easiest way to do it. And then.
Yeah.
Heck, we could even jump on one night live and talk about what we thought of each other. So, I mean, I'm not opposed to negative feedback. That's what makes you better.
Oh, yeah. You can see mine was, can you see this?
Yeah.
September 11th. That's when I ordered mine. Unfortunately, I think it was the 17th or something like that was when we had the big flood.
Yeah.
So you got it and never actually played it.
I started learning it, and then we got a flood. There's nothing I could do.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It was, but you can.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I don't BS you, man. I ordered it. It was one of those things.
I know one thing I had like when I originally wrote the rules, I had a whole bunch of additional examples and and obviously with the Game Crafter, it's the way the rule book formatting is. I had to try to condense it, so I had to take some of those out. And I know I had some people saying, "Oh, I really wish this was explained better." I'm like, "Well, it was," but unfortunately, I was limited on pages, and I had to sort of try to cut unnecessary things out, which maybe it was necessary. But that's why Board Game Geek is useful. I'm very even though I'm not posting and doing much, I subscribe to the game, so as soon as anybody asks a question, I usually try to jump right on it. And, that's one good thing, but. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. That'd be really cool.
Sounds good, bud.
Yeah, it sounds cool. I'm glad. I think that's a great idea. So we hit our 45-minute mark. Our goal is 45 minutes. I think we hit it. I think we covered more than enough of the game. I think that we covered your outdoor experience. And I don't know if you noticed, but Chris is flipping through the game, showing all your stuff the whole time. So we try to do that. On the bottom of the screen, we have put your link across the whole time, unless somebody made a comment. So we do that to try to benefit you. You come on a show, we want to make sure we're helping you out any way we can.
Yeah, appreciate
so
that.
we definitely try to throw your stuff up there while we're going live and try to help promote what you're doing, as well as you're helping us, get a new face on for everybody to see and discuss and talk about.
Yeah.
So we'll probably wrap it up at this point. But before we go, Bronson, you got anything else? I know them wheels are turning. I can see them up there. There's smoke coming out your ears.
I mean, I'm going to try and get the game, but I could also go, since I got my own camera, or I could go and show my perspective of your game and see from like a kid's point of view of how they think of it.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Great.
I think that'd really be cool. Like I said, I love feedback. Good and bad is good for me.
Yep.
I always tell Chris, negative feedback. If you get negative feedback, it means somebody played it. If you get no feedback, it means nobody did it. So, so nobody will ever agree with all the rules to your game. Nobody will ever agree with all the things you did.
Yep.
It's like coaching a kid in sports. The parent knows more than the coach who did it 25 years. I mean,
exactly.
It's just the way it is.
Yep.
But the fact that somebody did it, I always say, is good. That's all that matters. Chris, you got anything else?
No, again, I just really appreciate you coming on. I've been wanting to ask you for a while, but I wasn't sure. I know everybody gets busy, but I'm glad you came in.
Oh, yeah.
We got to stay in touch, brother.
Yeah, definitely stay in touch.
Yeah, I mean, great meeting all of you, and thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's great, been great talking with everybody, and it's good to see outdoor stuff, kind of staying alive on the internet, because obviously kids today especially get pulled away. Technology is such a draw in so many ways. So I definitely feel like each generation kind of loses a little bit of that connection with the outdoors. So it's always good to see people like Bronson staying kind of active in the outdoors and everything. It always makes me feel good that still happens.
Oh, that's why we do this. So one of the reasons Chris and I started this and got others involved is we want people to see that, we aren't professionals. I'm not a professional hunter. I do it because I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I fish because I love to fish. I'm not professional. Do I think I can give you some pointers? Sure. I know things that you probably don't, but I bet you can give me pointers as well. And, that's why we do it. We do it to show it's fun and you should try it. And just like the board game, we created the board game because we want the people who don't hunt to hunt. We want the kids stuck in the phone to get out of the phone and try something new.
Right.
But we didn't do it for any other reason. So I agree with you completely. And that's why we do what we do. We try to get the youth involved. We usually do a youth buck contest. Then we take, this year I think we were talking about it. We're going to try it. We can do a contest if we get donations. We can't do a contest if we charge people. So we're talking about having a big meeting on getting donations and letting kids sign up this year. Last year we did a fee, and then they just won the money back. Basically, we didn't get anything from it, but we got some bad feedback on that from not people, but regulations. so this year we want to try to get some donations out there that we can get the youth more involved and keep them going. So we're gonna have a big meeting on that as well. But I personally, and Chris already said it, Kevin, I personally appreciate you coming on.
Oh, sure.
I appreciate you sharing your experience with your dad and the memories you had, because I know that they last forever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I know those are moments that no one can ever take from you. So they make the stories for me. Those touch me. Those are what matter in all this.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. I totally agree.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate you trying to put something together for kids and adults to spend some time together, still getting in the outdoors. And you seem like a cool dude, so definitely stay in touch.
Yeah, sounds great.
So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Nice meeting you all.
God bless everyone, guys.
Hey,
Take care.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
you too.